Howdy folks, and welcome back to another episode of Mingles with Jingles. Back from Comic Con, literally just got back, transferred a whole bunch of video onto the PC and sat down and started doing Mingles with Jingles. I am exhausted, I am absolutely knackered, and I'm aching everywhere, but it's a good ache because I had amazing fun, as did Rita, as you can see here, as she messed with the wrong Borg. It was a fantastic 3 days. Wore a different costume on each of the 3 days. The first day, Rita was along in a Star Trek dress, and there I am in my Battlestar Galactica Colonial line officer uniform. We had a bit of a ideological difference between the two of us here. As you can see, she was trying to give me the Vulcan two-fingered. But yeah, oh, it was absolutely amazing. And I met a whole bunch of you there as well. The October Comic Con isn't quite as well attended as the May one, for obvious reasons. The weather on the Saturday was terrible, but, well, it was still well attended. Not so much on the Friday, but the Saturday and the Sunday. Despite the weather, there were thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people there. I spent an absolute fortune, and I had a fantastic time. And it's funny how, if you keep going to these kind of events, you keep bumping into the same faces. And I don't just mean the people who said, oh my god, look, it's Jingles, that I've, seen at previous Comic Cons or at Tankfest or whatever. Oh, yes, this is why I didn't really care that it was cold and raining on the Saturday. Because when you're wearing this much leather, you just don't feel the cold. I mean, these are biker leathers and I've got a helmet on, so I didn't care that it was raining. I love this costume. I, if I had if I could think of an excuse, a valid, legitimate excuse to wear this costume every day, I totally would. It is absolutely amazing. And there were so many other judges at Comic Con as well. At one point, we had a patrol of about 10 judges wandering around, complete with a couple of perps as well. One guy in particular, I'm not going to spoil it for you, the video clip of him is coming up in a minute or so. But there were no shortage of lawbreakers for us to deal with, just put it that way. There was a zombie judge, and one guy, I don't want to give the surprise away. Those of you who are into Judge Dredd, who have read the comics, read 2000 AD and so on and so on, or even seen the Sylvester Stallone movie that we don't really like to talk about, will recognise one of these perps when he pops up in a minute or so. As you can see, the weather was pretty bad on the second day. Well, it's not too bad for an October in Britain. Oh, here it is, coming right up. There's the zombie judge, and camo judge at the back there. The judges it's like, well, this is what happens when you go to an event like Comic Con. Everybody who's doing the same cosplay tend to congregate together. All the Marvel superheroes join together. There I am, with a helmet off, having a sly smoke. You didn't see anything, right? There he is, Mean Machine Angel. Look at that. Oh, he was impressive. Look at even the stitching and the scars and the eyes, absolutely everything. Spot on, perfect. So we just had a fantastic time wandering around on patrol. We spent most of the day on the Saturday just wandering around in the Dread outfit, being stopped by photographers every 10 yards, having a fantastic time. But as luck would have it, the first time I ever saw a Carl Urban Dread 3D, the 2012 movie version of The Judges, was at Comic Con last year in the summer, and it was a husband and wife judge team. And I thought, yes, fantastic, because they've been here every single time I've been to Comic Con. And I thought, great, I'm going to get to, show them my judge costume. And the day I was wearing the Dread costume, they didn't turn up. They were there on the Sunday. But of course, on the Sunday, I was wearing this. Dr. Henry Jones Sr. from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Get my picture taken with Hattie Hayridge, Holly from Red Dwarf. And there's incompetent camera minion Eddie in front of the camera for once. And of course, where Salah and Dr. Henry Jones Sr. go, Junior goes as well. There's Rita as Indiana Jones. So that was our weekend at Comic Con. Oh, of course, I forgot to mention, on the Friday, when I was wearing the Battlestar Galactica costume, I headed over to the Pop Asia event. And I was given a commentary on selected scenes from Girls and Panzer to a small audience. I did a quick question and answer session, and then I basically sat there until the end of the day just talking to everybody and signing autographs. And the Pop Asia people actually prepared a bunch of glossy Girls and Jingles posters to give away, which I signed for everybody. It was really good. So thank you very much to Pop Asia for that, for having me along, and basically it was just like a live version of Mingles with Jingles, and a whole bunch of you had asked if I could actually get the video of this up on YouTube. Well, as you can see, I've recorded the footage, and the Pop Asia guys have saved the sound from the microphone. So, well, you know how much background noise there is, even with a directional microphone at an event like this. So I'm going to have a look, or I'm going to have a listen to the audio file that they're going to send me, and if it's acceptable, I'll try to get them married up to the video footage that you can see here, and then we'll put together the whole Pop Asia Girls and Panzer with the Mighty Jingles question and answer and commentary session as a separate video. And of course there will also be one, possibly two, because I've got 286 separate video clips of all the cosplayers who attended the October MCM London Comic Con. So, definitely more than enough video for one cosplay video from Comic Con this year. Possibly two, we shall have to see. But the first Comic Con cosplay video will be coming up tomorrow. As soon as I finish doing Mingles with Jingles, I'm going to get to work editing the video and putting the soundtrack together. So you've got that to look forward to tomorrow. So, anyway, Mingles with... Oh, I've just remembered, actually. I missed a massive golden opportunity at Comic Con this year. Well, this month in October. There are two Comic Cons at London. One in May and one in October. The one in May tends to be better attended. Certainly by the movie stars and the TV stars, anyway. There aren't as many people turn up. I mean, there were a lot of people turned up in October. But there weren't as many people turn up in October as they do in May, basically because of the weather. When you're parading around with a lot of flesh on display in whatever costume you're wearing, it helps if it's not cold and raining outside. So I wasn't really expecting there to be that many big movie and TV stars at the October Comic Con. Now, I did in fact check the guest list in advance of the event just to see who from the movie and TV world was turning up to the October Comic Con. And there was nobody that, I really cared about. So I didn't plan, not like, the May Comic Con earlier this year where Felicia Day was there and I was in the queue to get her picture and autograph and so on and so on. But this time around, nobody that really rang my bell. So I didn't really bother with it too much. On the Friday, first day of Comic Con, I'm wearing the Battlestar Galactica costume on the Saturday, the Judge Dredd costume, and on the Sunday, the Indiana Jones costume. Guess who was there on the Saturday? Typical Edward James Olmos and Jamie Bamber. Now, for those of you who don't know who they are, Edward James Olmos, amongst other things, played Admiral Adama in Battlestar Galactica, and Jamie Bamber played Captain Apollo. And on the Friday, when they weren't there, I was in the Battlestar Galactica uniform. Oh, I would have killed to get my picture taken with Edward James Olmos. He's not just done Battlestar Galactica, obviously. He's been in Dexter, he's been in The West Wing, and he played Gaff, the other Blade Runner in the Harrison Ford Ridley Scott movie Blade Runner, the one who was leaving the little origami animals around, who'd been assigned to keep an eye on Harrison Ford's character. Great actor, big fan of his work, and missed the opportunity to get my picture taken with him. So yeah, Jingles, stop sucking. But on the bright side, did get my picture taken with Hattie Hayridge, who played Holly, or Hilly rather, in Red Dwarf, and Danny John Jules, who played the cat in Red Dwarf. And if we'd been paying attention, we would have also gotten the opportunity to have an autograph and a picture taken with Robert Llewellyn, who played Crichton in Red Dwarf, but he was only there on the Saturday, when we were running around outside in the judge costumes. So, Jingles, pay more attention, and don't suck next time. But hey, 2 out of 3 is not bad. The thing about Comic-Con is, if it wasn't for all the people turning up in costume, it would be pretty boring. I mean, there's a huge amount of exhibition space given over to Comic-Con, but 90% of it is just people selling stuff. It's just rows and rows and rows of merchandising, and there's some fantastic stuff available for sale there. I mean, we spent an absolute fortune. I can't even remember what it was I bought, because we haven't even unpacked our bags yet. Literally got home, because we checked out at the hotel on Sunday morning, loaded all our bags up into the car, and so the costumes that we were wearing for the Sunday walk around is what we drove home in. Literally got home, got changed out of the costumes into a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt, and started doing this episode of Mingles with Jingles. So the bags aren't even unpacked. Let me see if I remember what a bunch of t-shirts. I've got a bunch of t-shirts, and there's one thing that I definitely don't need. It's more t-shirts. But well, the thing is, there's some stuff that you can only get at Comic-Con because the merchandisers make them for Comic-Con, and that's the only place you can get them. For example, I got myself a Star Wars: The Force Awakens. That's the thing. There's been all kinds of the new Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens. There's been all kinds of merchandise available for that, but I've kind of been holding off on buying any of it in case the movie turns out to be shit, because I've been burned before where new Star Wars movies are concerned. But I saw these Comic-Con exclusive Star Wars: The Force Awakens Stormtroopers, and I just couldn't help myself. I mean, even if the movie's terrible, the design of the new Stormtroopers I do really, really like. So I took the risk and I bought one of these. I got myself yet another Sideshow Collectibles premium format superhero statue, Batgirl this time, to go with my Batman and my Superman and my Wonder Woman. And I got it for a good price as well because it had been a display model, so it was there's a little bit of damage on it, but yeah, for the price I got, I'm certainly not complaining. Rita went absolutely nuts about all the Star Trek merchandise. Oh, that's, yeah. Those of you who know Rita know that one, she's a massive Star Trek nerd, and two, her absolute favourite characters are Captain Picard and Worf. She's in love with Worf. Well, on the Friday, we went back to the hotel a little early, knowing that I had to go back to Comic Con at 4:30 to get ready for the Pop Asia panel that I was doing. And Rita went to sleep, basically, mid-afternoon. She was exhausted. And I didn't really want to wake her up. So myself and Eddie went back at 4:30. And as we're walking to the Pop Asia area, we walked past the best Worf cosplay I have ever seen. This guy was fantastic. It was the next generation version of Worf with the mustard-coloured top. He had the sash. It was absolutely perfect. His makeup was spot on. So we all got our pictures taken with Worf and texted the picture to Rita back in the hotel. She was not happy. But as we used to say in the Navy, if ever you were doing something less important and missed something special, if you snooze, you lose. So she'll get up next time I try to wake her. But anyway, yes. Actually, speaking of Star Wars: The Force Awakens and how, I've been burned with terrible Star Wars movies before, and I'm being cautiously optimistic about this new one that's coming out, because a lot of people have asked in various comments on various different videos, and the question keeps popping up on my Facebook page as well. Jingles, what are your thoughts? What's your reaction to the trailers for the new Star Wars movie? A lot of people are getting really hung up on the lightsaber that the bad guy is using with the sort of lightsaber hilt. Oh, what am I talking about? Not the hilt. The crossguard. And people, what's this? A lightsaber with lightsaber crossguards? Oh, that's well. Actually, you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. In fact, it's quite surprising that more lightsabers don't have them, because you'll notice one thing common to most swords is they have something to protect your hand, so that you don't get your fingers sliced off whenever you parry somebody. Lightsabers don't have that, so I never really understood what all the fuss was about that. It seems quite sensible to me. Now, the one thing that how can I put this? I'm going to sound like a terrible racist, right? I'm just putting this out there well in advance, right? This is going to make me sound like a terrible racist. However, I'll explain my reasoning. One of the very first things that you saw in the first Star Wars: The Force Awakens trailers was a stormtrooper taking his helmet off on Tatooine, and he's a black guy. And most of you are probably sitting there thinking, yeah, so? Well, here's the thing. I don't know if you noticed, but in the original trilogy, everybody in the Empire was a white male human. The only females, and there weren't that many females actually in the original Star Wars movies. Let's think. There was Princess Leia, obviously, a rebel, Mon Mothma, the leader of the Rebel Alliance. There were a couple of females, I think they called them the Tonica sisters, in the Mos Eisley Cantina scene. There was one woman walking through the crowd in Mos Eisley, and then there was Luke's Aunt Beru. So none of those were Imperial or even affiliated with the Empire in any way, shape or form. All of the racial and ethnic minorities, Asian guys, black guys, you name it, they were all rebels. X-Wing pilots, Y-Wing pilots, B-Wing pilots, you name it. Everybody who worked for the Empire, everybody who was in the Empire, who held a rank in the Empire, was a white male human, usually with a British accent. Now, whenever I make this point, the counter-argument is always, well, come on, Jingles, you didn't see every single person who worked for the Empire in the first 3 Star Wars movies. So there could have been aliens in Imperial uniform. There could have been women in Imperial uniforms. There could have been ethnic minorities in Imperial uniform. And my reply to that has always been, well, yeah, obviously I didn't see every single Imperial who ever was. But all of the ones that we saw were white male humans. And that's a filmmaking technique. George Lucas was showing us, by not showing us anybody who wasn't a white male human in the Empire, he was showing us how fascist and racist the Empire was. It's just a simple storytelling technique. And by contrast, he made the exact opposite point by showing all kinds of racial minorities, both genders, and even aliens in rebel uniforms. And that's where the contrast lies. You know, it's a storytelling technique. You don't need to be an absolute genius to understand the point that he was making. And this is why I get very, very suspicious indeed when I see the first Star Wars The Force Awakens trailers. In practically the first scene, you see a stormtrooper taking his helmet off, and he's a black guy. I don't have a problem with there being a black guy in Star Wars. I mean, I loved Lando Calrissian. Billy D. Williams is probably one of the coolest guys to ever live. And he was fantastic as Lando Calrissian. But I do have a problem with a black guy, or anybody who's not a white male human, wearing an Imperial uniform, because I can't help but get the feeling that the filmmakers haven't been paying attention. But after the first trailer, I thought, well, you know, we'll cut them some slack. We don't know anything about this alleged stormtrooper. I mean, just because he's wearing stormtrooper armor doesn't mean he's a stormtrooper. Han and Luke wore stormtrooper armor in the first Star Wars movie, and they're not Imperials. But when the second trailer came out, well, we still don't know an awful lot about this character, but it turns out that he's been fighting all his life, and he's sick and tired of war, fighting, and obeying orders is all he knows how to do. He's starting to sound a lot like a stormtrooper. And he's sick and tired of it. And it turns out he may be force sensitive, and so on and so on. And yeah, and I get all of that. It sounds like an interesting plot point. Taking a stormtrooper and having him question his orders and this and that, and he ends up being, you know, hero of the rebellion and all that. Fantastic. I mean, you know, when you say it like that, it sounds like this could be quite an interesting character. But a black stormtrooper? Jar Jar Abrams, did you watch Star Wars at all? I mean, did you not notice that? No? It's just me. Yeah. Maybe it is just me. I mean, I'm sure that I'm probably going to be one of the only people who's bothered by this very, very small point. But it just worries me. And maybe I'm worrying about nothing. And I sincerely hope I am. But it just kind of... I mean, we haven't seen an awful lot about The Force Awakens. We've seen 2 trailers and a teaser, and I think that's about it. So there's not an awful lot that we've seen. But it worries me that of the small amount that we have seen, there's this just one thing that really makes me think that the people responsible for making this movie don't love the source material to the extent that they're saying that they do. Because if they did, things like this, somebody might have stuck their hand up and said, hang on a minute, weren't you guys watching the original Star Wars movies? Because, no. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, fingers crossed. Hopefully it won't be shit. And in fact, that's the too long didn't read version. When people were asking for my reaction for the Star Wars The Force Awakens trailers, that's pretty much it. If I had to sum it up in one sentence, it would be, please don't be shit. Just repeat that 100 times. That's my reaction to the Star Wars The Force Awakens trailers. I so badly want there to be a good Star Wars movie again. I mean, I've been waiting 30 years. Surely, even by accident, they're going to get one right by now. And my apologies to those of you who enjoyed The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith and so on and so on and so on. Absolutely nothing wrong with liking and enjoying any of those movies. But I didn't, and millions of people share my opinion for very, very good reason. But, you know, if you enjoyed them, fine. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Take pleasure in whatever you can, wherever you can. That's what I say. But if you did enjoy those and you haven't seen the original trilogy, then go back and watch the original trilogy. So as well as enjoying, you know, the prequel movies, you can also enjoy some good Star Wars movies. So, you know, everyone's a winner. So, where does that leave us? Well, unfortunately, it leaves us with a shorter than average episode of Mingles with Jingles. as previously advertised, I have just got back from Comic Con. I haven't even eaten yet, and I really do need to unpack. Because when I came back from the EGX show, the Judge Dredd costumes, they didn't get taken out of the cases for about 3 weeks. And when they did come out of the cases, they smelt like old feet wrapped in bacon. You wouldn't believe how much you sweat when you're wearing a ton of biker leather, rubber, and plastic armor. So there are things that I desperately need to do in order to, I basically need to unpack and get some food down my neck because we've been on the road all day. And so that's it for this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles. This is the long-winded version of me basically saying, enough, I'm tired. I need to go and do stuff and get a bath. Oh, yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles anyway. Short though it has been. And we've got a whole bunch of content coming up for you. This week, starting with the cosplay video from MCM London Comic Con. And then we're right back to our usual selection of videos. Not as much World of Warships content this week, because I think you've overdosed on it over the course of the last couple of weeks with the World of Warships replay contest. We're going to be toning that back down this week and toning up the World of Tanks just a little bit more. So I hope you're going to enjoy the rest of this week's videos, and I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles, short though it was. I've had a fantastic weekend. Very, very tired, very, very smelly, and very, very hungry. I need to get some food, I need to get a bath, and I need to get some rest. So, as always, folks, that's it for this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.